Have you ever wondered what your lunch might look like in a decade or two? Picture this: a world where the food on your plate is no longer a product of conventional farming, but rather a marvel of modern technology. Today, we find ourselves on the brink of a food revolution, driven by the need for more sustainable and ethical food production methods. Traditional agriculture, though significant, poses challenges to our environment, our health, and the welfare of animals. Enter the game changers, the disruptors of the food industry. Lab-grown meat and plant-based alternatives. These innovations are not merely science fiction. They are real, tangible solutions that are redefining how we think about food. Lab-grown meat, for example, promises the taste and texture of traditional meat without the environmental and ethical drawbacks. And let's not forget plant-based alternatives, which are making waves in their own right. The future of food may be closer than we think, and it might look very different from what we're used to. First, let's tackle traditional meat production. It's a process many of us are familiar with, but do we know its true cost? Let's dive into the nitty-gritty. Traditional meat production is resource-intensive, to say the least. It's not just about the animals in the farms. It's about the water, the land, the feed, and the energy that goes into raising them. Imagine this. Producing 1 kilogram of beef requires roughly 15,000 liters of water. That's equivalent to filling up around 200 average-sized bathtubs. Not to mention, livestock farming occupies about 30% of the Earth's entire land surface. The environmental impact is just as significant. Livestock farming is responsible for nearly 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. That's more than all the cars, planes, and ships worldwide combined. On top of that, there's the issue of animal welfare. Many animals in these farms live in cramped conditions, often treated more like commodities than living beings. Finally, we can't overlook the health risks associated with traditional meat production. Overuse of antibiotics in livestock farming has led to an alarming rise in antibiotic-resistant bacteria, posing a significant threat to human health. Moreover, the consumption of red and processed meats has been linked with various health issues, including heart disease, stroke, and certain types of cancer. But it's not all doom and gloom. As dire as the situation might seem, it's also a catalyst for change. All these factors have led to a growing demand for sustainable alternatives to traditional meat, and the food industry is answering the call. Innovations are underway that aim to minimize the environmental footprint, improve animal welfare, and reduce health risks. From lab-grown meat to plant-based alternatives, these new methods are not only feasible, but could also revolutionize the way we consume food. While traditional meat production has its issues, new methods are emerging that promise a more sustainable future. Imagine a world where you can enjoy a juicy steak or a crispy chicken wing without any animal having to die for it. That's the promise of lab-grown meat. Lab-grown meat, or cultured meat, is a fascinating concept that's slowly turning into reality. Picture this. Instead of rearing animals for slaughter, we take a small sample of animal cells and nurture them in a lab. These cells multiply, forming muscle tissue, which is essentially meat. No pasture, no feed, and no slaughterhouses. Just a lab, a petri dish, and a bit of scientific magic. This isn't just a pipe dream. Companies are already producing cultured meat, although it's not yet commercially available. The potential benefits are enormous. We could drastically reduce the environmental impact of livestock farming, from greenhouse gas emissions to water and land use. And of course, there's the ethical aspect. The promise of a world where meat can be enjoyed without harm to animals is profoundly appealing. But let's not sugarcoat things. There are substantial hurdles to overcome. Cultured meat production is currently expensive. We're talking about thousands of dollars for a single pound. However, as with any technology, costs are expected to fall as the process is refined and scaled up. There's also the matter of public acceptance. The idea of lab-grown meat may seem strange or off-putting to some. It's a new frontier, and it's natural to have reservations. But remember, many foods we take for granted today were once considered bizarre. Lobster, for instance, was once seen as a lowly food fit only for prisoners. Today, it's a delicacy. Education and transparency will be key in overcoming these challenges. The more people understand about cultured meat, the more likely they are to accept it. And as we face a future with a rapidly growing global population and increasing environmental pressures, embracing new and sustainable ways to produce our food will be critical. Lab-grown meat could be a game changer, but it's not the only player in the field of sustainable food alternatives. Plants, they're not just for salads anymore. In fact, they're taking center stage in our kitchens and our restaurants, transforming what we think of as meat and dairy. The rise of plant-based alternatives is a culinary revolution driven by a desire for sustainability, improved health, and greater animal welfare. Imagine a world where your juicy burger, your creamy ice cream, even your sizzling steak all come from plants. These plant-based alternatives are not without their challenges, though. Taste and texture, the very essence of our food experiences, can be tricky to replicate. But science and innovation are stepping up to the plate. Researchers are tirelessly working to create plant-based foods that not only match but surpass the taste and texture of their animal-based counterparts. So while we may not be quite there yet, we're getting closer every day. Plant-based foods are showing us that we can enjoy our favorite meals while also making a positive impact on the planet. So what does this all mean for the future of food? As we've seen, our food landscape is shifting. We're moving away from traditional methods of food production thanks to the remarkable innovations that are taking place. The need for sustainable food production has never been more apparent. And science is stepping up to the plate. Literally, lab-grown meat and plant-based alternatives are no longer concepts of a far-off future. These are realities that we are embracing today. They hold immense potential to revolutionize the way we consume food. But of course, like any technological advancement, they come with their own set of challenges. From ethical considerations to scaling up production, there are hurdles to overcome. Yet, the potential benefits, both to our health and the health of our planet, are too significant to ignore. The future of food is a story still being written, but one thing is clear. It's a future that holds promise for both our palate and our planet.